Once again, Rhino Africa came through for us. Not only were they able to book our last-minute flights to Cape Town, but they also arranged to get us picked up at the airport and were able to extend our accommodations at the fabulous Camps Bay Retreat. You know, looking at the bright side, we now have more time to have fun in beautiful Cape Town, South Africa. Cape Town is a beautiful city located at the southern tip of the African continent. It is bordered on the west and east coasts by the Atlantic and Indian Oceans respectively. Blessed with weather patterns that are quite similar to those in Southern California, I almost felt like we were visiting Laguna Beach or even San Diego. We were staying at Camps Bay Retreat, a beautiful boutique hotel located about 500 meters from the water's edge and within easy walking distance to very cool bars, restaurants, and the double-decker tour bus stop. Since we were now without wheels, we relied on city sightseeing of Cape Town to be our main source of transportation. For about $30 a day, both of us were able to go damn near anywhere we wanted to in the greater Cape Town area.
I want it, 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 I want it. Rubbing sand sixpence every day, just to drive to my baby. Rubbing sand sixpence each day, 'cause I drive my baby every way. Magic Ball! Magic Ball! Magic Ball! Magic Ball!
Well, the Red Line bus seems to be doing quite well for us. We're having a great chance to go ahead and look at some of the sights here around Cape Town. But in the interim, we're looking for a nice place to kick back, have a couple of glasses of nice white wine, maybe some dinner in a couple of hours, and just walk around and see the sights in downtown Cape Town. One of Cape Town's most popular attractions is the newly renovated wharf area, simply known as the waterfront. It is home to many restaurants, bars, museums, and is the jumping-off point for all the major tours in and around the Cape Town area. You don't necessarily have to spend a lot of money here. If you're so inclined, just kick back and watch the seals frolic in the harbor. Or take a hike through the mall for a little window shopping. Too bad I couldn't bring this new 100-inch monster TV back through customs. And what better way to celebrate a day of nothingness than to kick back with a great bottle of South African wine.
Vida in South Africa.
Cape Town has closed many of its once traffic-congested streets and designated them as pedestrian-only walkways. Not only has it reduced congestion, but business has skyrocketed as a result. Vendors from across all of South Africa now come here and set up shop.
While we were riding around on the red bus, we saw this little shopping area. Now this is my kind of shopping. I really like this little local kind of, probably junk store stuff, but let's go check out what's over there. This is my kind of shopping.
While the tourist is the primary target, locals shop here as well. The bargains are plentiful and the quality is top-notch. Fran scored several pair of beautiful handmade earrings, while I came home with an incredible handcrafted teak box. There were 3 places we absolutely, positively had to go while we were in Cape Town. The first on our list was Robben Island, the prison that was home to Nelson Mandela for over 20 years. Next was Table Mountain, the iconic mountain plateau that overlooks Cape Town. And lastly, the Cape of Good Hope, mistakenly referred to as the southernmost point of Africa. So, let's check out Robben Island. I'm on a ferry right now out to Robben Island. It's going to be about maybe a 15-20 minute ride. Temperatures are feeling pretty nice, maybe in the high 60s, low 70s right now, and the wind's starting to kick up just a little bit. But once we get out there, Robben Island is a prison camp, or was a prison camp, and originally it was a leper colony way back in the 1600s. But now we're going to go out there and take about a 3-hour tour and cruise around the place and look at the various cells and get some more insight into the history that is South Africa.
Never did they return, but that's where the name comes from. But Otjomata became the first recorded prisoner to Robben Island. Now the thinking was, they were indigenous clan of the Cape, they're not seafaring, if they're here, they don't need to look after them.
Years and 5 months in this prison between 1984 and 1991.
Well, we were finally able to get off the bus and explore the prison. The people who were conducting the tours within the prison were all ex-prisoners, and that did add a level of authenticity. For me, this was a boring tour, and not on my list of recommended places to go in South Africa. Okay, so Robben Island did not really float our boat when it came to interesting tourist attractions. But Table Mountain, that's a different story. No matter where you are in the greater Cape Town area, you can see Table Mountain, the iconic flat-top mesa that looms over Africa's southern tip. There are 2 ways to get to the top of Table Mountain. Those who are physically fit and like to endure bodily torture can take the 2-hour-plus hike up any of the well-marked public trails to the summit. Or those of us who ooze common sense can take a 10-minute cable car ride to the top. Hey, mama didn't raise no fool. The only hassle with the cable car is the lines to the actual cable car can be quite lengthy.
Wow, this is worse than Disney World. We take lines to then take elevators to get back online. Here on a beautiful, beautiful morning. This is our last morning in Africa, and we couldn't ask for a prettier morning. Over my shoulder, you can see Robben Island, where we were the other day, the stadium we drove by, and the waterfront where we walked around, and I think I got my cool hat there. So you can see everything from here, a bird's eye view of a beautiful, beautiful country.
Having stood about an hour in line, waiting to get a ride to the top of Table Mountain, and then spending a little over an hour and 20 minutes up on top, walking around, taking all kinds of video, I think it's time to go ahead and check this thing off as a been there, done that experience. Anybody coming to South Africa, especially Cape Town, you've really got to go ahead and make an effort to come up here because the views are simply spectacular. It's a lot of fun, it's an easy walk, and there's not that many steps, so it's a cool thing to do. So that's it. Andy Brown, Boomers Offshore, coming to you from Table Mountain, South Africa. The Indian Ocean meet the cold currents of the Atlantic to form a mariner's nightmare, the Cape of Storms. Or so at least that's what we were taught in school. But in reality, and for the sake of the accuracy of this video, the true southern point resides about 90 miles to the southeast at Cape Agulhas. Well, be that as it may, we're here, and that's all there is to it. Perhaps the best part of seeing the Cape is getting there. We hired a private driver, which afforded us the ability to get up close and personal with the areas in which we visited. You can't do this in one of those old fart bus tours where you drive by interesting sights and are constantly in a rush to stay on someone else's schedule. The South African coastline was simply breathtaking. It reminded us a lot of California's Pacific Coast Highway. But instead of the cars causing traffic slowdowns, for us it was the wildlife. It was not an uncommon sight to peer out the window of your car and see penguins playfully walking on the beach, or even a family of wild ostriches strutting about. Our timing could not have been any better, for we were right in the middle of whale migration season. Large pods of right whales could be found frolicking just a few meters off the shore. Tourists frequently stop their cars to take scenic pictures. These folks learned a valuable lesson. When stopped, keep your windows up and your doors locked. The South African baboon, although cute and cuddly, can, and without warning, invade your space and cause bodily injury. They're looking for food, but they'll steal anything not nailed down. You ought to see their camera collection. Once we cleared the visitor center, it was still another 7 or 8 miles until we hit the Cape of Good Hope. As do all tourists, we took the obligatory picture of us standing in back of the sign indicating our exact geographic location on the planet Earth. Yeah, it was one of those dorky moments, but you don't travel halfway around the world and not do it. As soon as we finished taking our picture, a load of European tourists charged off their bus and began positioning themselves for their photographic keepsake. Unfortunately, their poor tour guide was left juggling 25 cameras so he could take group photos for everybody. I guess nobody knows how to copy a file. Once you've done the sign thing, there's really not much else to do except head to the top of the point. Again, there's 2 ways of accomplishing that feat, and by now I'm sure you know which method we chose. After a couple hundred steps, we finally made it up to the Cape Point Lighthouse. You don't get any farther out than this. We've made it up to the very tip, the edge of the hemisphere. I guess that's about as far as you can say you can go. Cape Point and the Cape of Good Hope is a must-see stop for anybody visiting Southern Africa. Exciting and breathtaking are the 2 words that are going to stay with me forever whenever I hear the words Cape of Good Hope. Today, visitors to Cape Town enjoy a clean, well-functioning, modern metropolis. Its successes can be measured in its steadily growing economy, excellent city services infrastructure, and just drop-dead gorgeous weather. By all measurable standards, Cape Town is truly a world-class city. But it wasn't always that way. From 1944 until 1994, racial segregation was the rule of law throughout South Africa. Apartheid was master, and those of the black, Indian, and colored races were powerless over their white minority oppressors. For nearly 50 years, non-whites were required to live totally separate lifestyles. It was illegal to marry, share toilets, restaurants, or even attend public sporting events. They were denied jobs and the ability to earn a decent wage. In short, they were treated like animals. But that all changed in 1990. Bowing to world pressure forced the South African white government to put an end to apartheid. Nelson Mandela was released from prison, and 4 years later he would become the first black president of the country. The memory of these dark days lives on thanks to public museums like the District 6 Museum. It is here we came face to face with some of the horrors that took place back in that day. Yes, we had our dark days of segregation, but it was nothing like the legal genocide that was practiced and perfected in South Africa. And in the 23 years since apartheid ended, life for non-whites has improved exponentially. We're in an area right now known as Boerkop, and this used to be one of the slave districts in very, very ancient Cape Town. And it's one of the areas that's known for its brightly colored homes.
This area is really quaint. I love the bright colors. It kind of reminds me, I think this reminds me a lot of Grenada. A little bit of Grenada with all the brightly colored homes. It really is really pretty.
But with their newfound power comes responsibility, and I don't see a lot of that happening, at least not fast enough. In my short time in country, I still bore witness to the conditions that still exist in Cape Town today. While not targeting blacks and coloreds per se, shantytowns still exist because the government chooses to ignore the problem as opposed to fixing it. But for all of the government's failures, a few successes managed to eke through. Witness Langa Township, the oldest and largest of all of South Africa's black townships. For some, taking a vacation is about relaxing and getting away from the daily routine of work. For us, it's about the opportunity to see and experience new adventures. Such was our motivation for this trip to Southern Africa. It's almost impossible for me to put into words my feelings when I found myself within an arm's length of a giant bull elephant or a lion devouring its most recent kill. To experience these magnificent creatures up close and personal caused me to reflect on just how much there is to see and experience during our short time we have here on Earth. We seem to take for granted so many things, like the simple act of getting a glass of fresh, clean water when you turn on a faucet, or just flushing a toilet. It's the little things we seem to forget about. This vacation was an eye-opening, yet humbling experience for me and Fran, one that we will relive for the remainder of our lives. We hope that you enjoyed watching this video as much as we enjoyed making it. We're not sure where our next adventure is going to take us, But for certain, it will be a place that's going to break new ground for us. This has been Andy Brown with Boomers Offshore saying thanks and pura vida.
Oh, show me the way to go home. I'm tired and I want to go to bed. I had a little drink about an hour ago and come right to my head. Wherever I may roam, on land or sea or foam, you can always